So, as I've been sharing, I've been reading the Avadutta Gita, which is a really great treatise on this non duality, Advaita Vedanta. And in chapter 3, it's an interesting read. I've been doing 5 verses a day and just kind of sitting and meditating on them for about a half hour, 45 minutes after reading them. And in chapter 3, he's just constantly taking these pairs of opposites and saying that the self, has nothing to do with it at all, that there's no relationship at all. Like I'm not existence and I'm not non-existence. I'm not big or small. I'm not short or tall. And he just goes on, and then he ends each of these couplets with a statement saying that I am the nectar of knowledge, the homogeneous existence, like the sky. And so I decided after kind of getting the idea, which is the wrong thing when you're reading an Advaitic text, is to get yet another idea when you're trying to shed all ideas and even the very notion of ideation as it is. But I really got the notion that he's trying to say, get outside of the mind. Don't think that you're going to find God or reality or your realization in your system of thinking, in your system of philosophy, or anywhere inside the thoughts that you are the witness of, because you are the witness and you're outside of that entire menagerie of existence, all of the stories about who you are and what you are, all of the stories of your ego that try and maintain its greatness and its superiority, and to set up that boundary where God is there and there is no God here but me. And so I was looking at this resounding or recurring theme, that I am the nectar of knowledge. And I thought it's interesting that he doesn't say I'm knowledge. He says, or that expresses itself as the nectar of knowledge. And the actual word in Sanskrit was amrita jnana, which means exactly that, the nectar of knowledge. But the amrita means non-death. So it's this immortality. It's the knowledge of immortality. And we saw that when Ramakrishna first talked with M in the Gospel. He tells us that knowledge, real knowledge, is knowledge of the self. It's not book learning. It's not thought learning. And so it's interesting that God is not knowledge in the sense of all of the facts and figures and relationships and whatnots that you've collected and put into your head over your X number of years of life. That's not what God is, but God is in fact the nectar of that. The resultant of experience, the resultant of all of this is renunciation, which is freedom. So he is the bliss of what all things in the relative world, which I would say is an equation of knowledge, of worldly knowledge, is knowledge of the relative world. So all of the knowledge in your head is relative by the nature of your brain, by the nature of your mind. And so he's saying, I'm the nectar of all of that, but it's a knowledge that's transcendent to anything in the mind. And that through paying attention and understanding yourself as the observer of knowledge in the mind, you can get an awareness of the mind. this idea of a kingdom that's sort of outside of your mind. And when he says, like the sky, the homogeneous existence like the sky, what is the sky? The sky is this imaginary boundary. There's not really any such thing as the sky. You can't say where it begins, unless you're going to say right where the earth ends. And you can't say where it ends, because it goes out infinitely to the edge of space, wherever that might be. And yet it is an enveloping enclosure or container for earth, for our life's experience. And I loved that idea that he says that the self is like that. It's this boundless, infinite, and yet somehow containing vessel for what we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. And yet it's not. There's nothing really there. Like Ramakrishna says about the blue of the sky being like the blue of Krishna, which means the closer you draw near to God, the more formless is manifested. Can you say such a thing? The formless is manifested. But that the closer you go to the sky, you see that it's not blue at all, that it's like there's actually no color to the sky. And yet from a distance it looks blue. And so with God, he says very much the same, that God from a distance has a form. For those of us that are spiritual youngins, he's got a form, a definition of a religion, a definition of an avatar or whatever like that. But to that self who knows the self, who finds that contentment within, needing nothing and realizing his transcendental nature, God is formless. And yet in that formlessness, he is everything that is form as well and beyond. So this notion, just repeating to yourself, I am the nectar of knowledge, the homogeneous existence like the sky.